We'll use a character version of AddonSoftware in this demonstration to show how you can sprinkle modern graphical functionality throughout the application. These sprinkles, as we call them, can be used to augment a character application or as a stepping stone on the way to fully migrating the application to a graphical environment. We'll be focusing in the Accounts Receivable module for this demonstration, but what you're seeing here could be applied to any of the modules. One area that offers a great opportunity for modernization is lookup screens. Let's take a look at a typical add-on character lookup to set the stage. Here in Cash Receipts, we can strike F3 to do a customer lookup. We first select how we'd like to locate the customer. I'll just use the number for now. And then we can also provide a starting value. The real estate is limited, of course, so we have a small list here showing the customer number and name, along with the search key that we used. And at the right, a bit more info about the highlighted customer. If I change my mind and want to search on a different field, I need to restart. And it can be a bit tricky to find what I'm after. If I select Contact as my search field, because I know Rockville is the last name of one of my contacts, that might not get the job done. You can see here, I don't see anything resembling the contact I was expecting. I can only find my customer this way if I know exactly how the contact has been entered into the system. Let's move to the customer maintenance screen. Here, the F3 lookup launches a barista query instead. Right off the bat, you can see that we have more info at our fingertips. Scrolling to the right, you can see that we see several customers at once, and we can see the entire customer master record for each one. If I want to arrange things to aid my search, a simple click in the column headings gets that done. So you can see we can switch between ascending or descending order in these columns where I'm clicking. I could scroll to the right to find some other common search criteria, like maybe the alt sequence or the contact name. But with these queries, it's easy to make them more efficient. I'll right-click here and select Inquiry Columns. And here I can control which columns I want to see and in what order. I'm going to take the alt sequence and just move it up under the customer name. And let's do the same with the contact. I can click and drag as well. Now my query is presented with the columns I'm most interested in right up front, and that saves some scrolling back and forth. Now, in addition to just sorting on a column, once I pick a particular column, I can also filter things using the search box. And I can simply clear that out and hit Enter to remove the filtering. I can go even further by using this Search All Columns checkbox. With this checked, the query will search through the entire record looking for my text. That's a good way to find our elusive Mr. Rockville, or maybe even to locate customers that have California listed as the state in their address. In this database, the state is appended to an address line, so it could be in any number of address fields. File lookups are just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to using the query subsystem. Queries can also be used in place of more complex screen lookups and can even serve as an ad hoc reporting tool. Let's move down to the Invoice History Inquiry screen. We've again replaced the on-screen inquiry with a graphical barista query. We have the same ability to manipulate columns, sort, search, etc. as we saw on the customer lookup. And we can make use of the filtering tool as well. If I want to find invoices that have a date prior to, say, the first of the year and a sales amount greater than 1,000, I can enter those criteria into the filter tool. And don't forget, queries can be designed with hyperlinks. So if I want to view the line items for a given invoice, that information is just a click away. You can see the italicized invoice number here, and that gives me a visual cue that I can click on it to see something else. In this case, the detail for that particular invoice. Let's clear the filtering and close our filtering tool. Last but not least, and especially useful in these more complex queries or ad hoc reports, is the ability to right-click and export our query results to a report in PDF format using the Document Output Viewer, or to any of these other formats. And in this case, if I choose a text file, for example, the file will be created and then launched using the tool that my client system has assigned for that sort of extension. So in my case, a TXT file comes up in a browser. Another way to enhance a character application is with widgets. Pie charts, bar charts, and so on. These tools let users really see the data. Take a look at the aging and sales summary for our customer 1000. We've enhanced this screen full of numbers with a pie chart that depicts the customer's aging status. Data presented in this form hits the brain more quickly and is easier to digest than the raw numbers. Like queries, widgets can be used to drill deeper into the details. When I click a pie slice, it shows me the amount for that slice, along with the total. But this widget could just as easily be enhanced to bring up a grid displaying the invoices that fall into that particular aging bracket. Let's move on now to reporting. Character applications can be easily tied into Barista's document output system. We call it DocOut for short. One of the nice things about the DocOut system is that you don't need to do everything from scratch. Many of your existing reports can be converted to DocOut with very little effort. I'm going to launch the aging report here. You can see we have the normal on-screen runtime selections, but the report now comes up as a PDF in the document viewer. The viewer lets me page through the report, zoom in or out, adjust my page view, or even search for text. And of course, I can send the report to a printer, save as a PDF, or in any of these other formats, even as a Google Doc, if I'm configured appropriately. And I can also email it directly out of the viewer. For reports that are more complex, or on which you'd like to include graphical components, you can create Jasper reports. A customer statement is a good example. Let's run a statement for customer 100. Again, we have the same character-oriented runtime selection screen, pick screen, but that information is now fed into a new program that produces this Jasper version of our statement. Like dockout reports, the Jasper reports come up in the document viewer, giving us all the same options that we need to view it, save it, print it, and so on. Now, it could be that inquiries, widgets, and reports may be all that you want to add to your character application. That gives you a lot of functionality right there. But if you'd like to go further, you can begin migrating some of your character screens themselves to graphical forms. You can create graphical versions of most of your simpler screens pretty quickly and simply launch them from the regular menu. This is a great way to ease the transition to a fully graphical environment. Once a form is ready to run, you substitute it for the character screen with just a few minor changes. We can see how this looks by going into distribution code maintenance. Here we have a fully functional form. We can enter a code, use the navigation buttons to move through our records, or use the binoculars to do a lookup. In this case, since we have some coded fields, we also have these convenient hyperlinks, and we can click on any of these to see more information about this particular GL account. And we can even generate an automatic report of either the current record or all the records in the file. So to sum up, we've seen 4 basic categories of sprinkles, ways to add some functionality to your character app. We've talked about queries that can be used for your base lookups and also as ad hoc reports. We looked at ways to add other graphical components like widgets. We looked into the reporting system, and we saw how you can also begin making graphical forms to replace some of your character forms.